We are at the Web Summit Qatar 2025, and I'm in conversation with Andrew Feldman, the co-founder and CEO of Cerebras Systems. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to ask you, start off by asking you that, there's a lot of talks about dependence on NVIDIA, and you've been very vocal about companies depending a lot on NVIDIA's GPUs, right? So, what are some assumptions in the AI world that you want to change, that Cerebras wants to change?
Well, I think a dependence on one company is bad for an industry, and I think we saw it when the industry was dependent on Intel. It limits innovation, it limits competition, it limits creativity, and so I think what you're seeing right now, certainly in the hardware space, is a collection of different companies, Cerebras included, uh, challenging the status quo. And we've been able to build machines that are faster, that use less power, and that deliver AI answers in less time than NVIDIA.
Great. So I have a lot of India-specific questions for you. There's a lot of debate going around building LLMs versus building applications or building smaller models, right? What is your take on that? And especially after DeepSeek, we are seeing renewed energy to build models again. So what is your take on that, and how does Cerebras come in for the India market?
I think DeepSeek was a wake up call. I think what it showed was that a team of several hundred people could build a world class foundation model. That means there are teams in India, not one, but 20 teams in India. There are teams here in Qatar, there are teams in the UAE, in KSA, there are teams in Bulgaria, there are teams all over the world who, with focus, can build world class foundation models. And so that was exciting. And that was a reminder that you didn't have to have thousands of people and billions of dollars to do it. Excellent models can be written with modest sized teams and a fair bit of compute. I think it's really a mistake to say it's either big models or small models. There are some things big models are very good at, and there's some things small models will be very good at. I think they'll be right sized and used for the task at hand. And I think that's what you have to remember. I think if you have interesting data, and I think there are plenty of examples of small models that do extraordinary work. Remember, they're cheaper to build and cheaper to use. There are other problems that are more complicated. Most of the reasoning models are pretty large, starting at about 70 billion parameters. Those are a little more expensive to train, a little more expensive to use.
Got it. And like India, I think many other countries are now focusing on sovereignty, data sovereignty, and with AI, that's becoming more and more important, right? So, what role does Cerebras play here? And especially for India, would you be doubling down your investments in the market?
Sure. We have a team in Bangalore right now. We're expecting to triple that over the next several years. Obviously, the India market is an enormously important market worldwide. They have some of the premier universities in the world. They have an extremely talented workforce. They should be creating AI, and they should be running it on Cerebras equipment. And so we intend to increase our investment over time in India. We have, as I said, an office in Bangalore. We have some people in Hyderabad, and we expect to grow.
So, investments in India, as in, would it be more like data centers? Would it be more like talent investment?
Sure. We have employees. We just took a much larger new office, and we're looking with our partner G42 to put a data center with exaflops of compute, of Cerebras compute in India. So
Have you decided on a location yet?
we are currently looking. We currently have several in mind, and they're being chosen and worked on right now.
Wonderful, great. And in terms of your IPO, right? 1 billion IPO is what I know you won't comment on record, but that's what's out there, and you're looking at a valuation of anywhere between 7 to 8 billion. So apart from the capital itself in terms of IPO, what strategies, what synergies do you think would come in being a public player, competing with players like Nvidia?
I think in the US in particular, some enterprises, some large companies have a preference for doing business with public companies. And that's an important element. I think as a public company, your cost of capital is different than as a private company. I think it brings a level of credibility and legitimacy, especially when you engage with sovereign nations. And so I think there's some real pros. I think there's some cons as well. It's less fun as a CEO. I think there's more regulation, there are more rules. I think those are things that have to be taken into account. But I think on balance, most of us believe that in part of growing to be a great company, you end up being a public company.
Great. Andrew, you spoke about regulations. I think US has, again, saying that they would put a ban on export of chips to China and other nations, right? So would that impact Cerebras in any ways? How do you plan to expand your products when there are restrictions like this?
Look, I think the restrictions on chips in China are a reasonable policy right now. We don't do business in China, and we didn't before the ban either. And so we are not at all concerned about that. I think they're policy decisions that the politicians need to work out. I think what we can do is build extraordinary technology, collaborate with our partners around the world, and see if we can build AI that does some good.
One last question, Andrew. What is one big mega trend that you see in AI in 2025?
Oh, I think we will see AI's impact in healthcare. I think the healthcare system, at least in the US, I know less about the one in India, is ripe for significant improvement. AI offers tremendous opportunity to work alongside the doctor and to improve outcomes for patients.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew, for talking to us. Thank you.